Welcome to Here She Stands, the podcast where Lutheran women from across Australia come together as a community, sharing stories and testifying to God's goodness. We do this so when the tribulations of this world try to push us down, we can hold firm to the Word of God and confidently say, "Here I stand, I can do no other." My name is Lexy.
And I am Sonja. Welcome to another episode of Here She Stands. Today we've got a special Christmas episode for you guys where we, Lexy, myself and Meryl, who you know from episode 21, are sitting down together across different parts of Australia and just chatting about Christmas and traditions, and we have a few things that you guys sent in to read out. And yeah, hi Meryl, it's nice to have you here.
Hi Sonja, it's nice to be here.
And hello Lexy and Katie, who's sitting on her lap.
Sonja and I both have our babies with us, and Meryl's baby is with us.
Yes.
But still in the belly.
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, that is a good segue into a funny little tidbit that at one point in this year, all of us Here She Stands team were pregnant. Maybe we might have just crossed over.
Yeah,
That was pretty fun. Yeah, this season and last season have been brought to you by many pregnant women.
This is kind of the first time we've done an episode like this where Sonja and I have done one where we just chatted about the end of the year, but this has been the first time we've chatted with each other and responded to the listeners' entries.
Yeah.
So it feels really nice. It feels really casual and relaxed and special.
It does. We thought that we would share our favourite Christmas traditions and thoughts. I'll start, I suppose. For myself, growing up, my family didn't really do Christmas at all. We just did a family celebration, in quotes, where we gave each other gifts, and that was pretty much it. We didn't do a tree, we didn't decorate, we didn't call it Christmas, we didn't go to church or anything like that. Once I got married, and especially once Lee started studying at ALC, I was super excited to do Christmas. Since we've been married, which is, 10 years now, I've just loved doing a Christmas tree and decorating the whole house and a wreath on the door and advent candles and going to Christmas services, and I've just loved every bit of it. So I've gone all out, which gives me great joy. I think growing up as a family, we didn't really do traditions in general. I don't really remember anything that was a yearly tradition except for one, which was my mum made us an advent calendar every year. And it wasn't just one of the ones where you open a chocolate every day, but it was like a full-on big gift every single day of December. I don't know why. I think she just enjoyed doing it to count down to our celebration. And yeah, that's one of those memories I have as a kid that just brought me so much joy, because I mean, what kid doesn't like getting gifts every day? That I decided to do the same for my kids. Just make a little advent calendar that they can open. But instead of a little gift every day, I've done mostly activities that we do together. Like it has a card, and today we did bake Christmas biscuits, so that was fun, and a little chocolate, and then a little peg doll from a nativity that I made. So every day we add one doll to the nativity. So that's probably one of my favorite Christmas traditions, just because it was one of the few that we did growing up.
Why did your family not celebrate Christmas explicitly? Was it the commercialism? Was it convictions?
So I grew up mostly open brethren, a little bit of non-denominational and Baptist, and then a little bit of the commercialism, I think. But I mean, we still gave each other presents. I think it was mostly convictions that my parents just felt that it's not something that they as Christians should celebrate. It's not in the Bible, and we don't really know when Jesus' birthday really was and things like that. And so, yeah, they just felt that it was not something that they should be celebrating, and they wanted to be different from everyone else around them. I think growing up in Germany, a lot of people, especially back then when I was a kid, a lot of people either identify as Catholic or evangelical, which is basically Lutheran. And a lot of people, it's just nominal, like it's just what you call yourself because that's what you grew up, but you don't actually care about Jesus, or, you know, it's no more than just Easter and Christmas, and that's about as much as you will do in a year. And so my parents wanted to be the opposite of that, I think. They wanted to be Christians every day of the year and not just Christmas and Easter, and maybe not be involved in Christmas and Easter at all. I've just found great joy in traditions, and the church calendar and the church year is so rich, and the Israelites had a lot of festivals and traditions, and some of them were even established, or a lot of them were established by God himself. And so I love being part of that. Maybe Jesus wasn't born on the 25th or the 24th, but even when we don't know people's actual birthday, we still sort of allocate them one day every year to celebrate them. So
Yep.
yeah, I enjoy doing that. Yeah, and one thing that I would really love to get more into is lighting advent calendars.
Lighting advent calendars.
I would love to just light them on fire. Although when I was doing it a few days ago, on the last day of November, I was like, why do I do this to myself? Every year, I'm like, oh no, I've left it to the last minute again. No, I would love to get more into lighting Advent candles every Sunday and doing an Advent devotion together as a family. I had every intention of doing it this Sunday, and we had guests over and everything was busy, and I forgot, and I was very sad. So every year I think I'll get a little bit better at it, but it's something that I'm aspiring to do more of because I think it's really lovely.
So what about you, Meryl? What type of traditions do you have in your home?
Well, in the current home, the tradition is, oh no, it's December 24th. I better put up a tree. It's been a bit like that the last, I don't know, I think before kids as well. I think that's just a me thing more than anything. And I think perhaps because my mum and mother-in-law are so good at doing the decorations, so that when we go and visit family, it's like, well, you've already got the decorations sorted. I did have some lovely traditions as a kid, but they didn't sort of last heaps long. Well, they sort of lasted for certain periods. We had a neighbor who was so lovely. She made us these little like German biscuits for Christmas, the little German chocolates, and she'd come around each year and drop them off. And I think that inspired us one year when it was like presents were getting a bit expensive. So we just decided to do some cooking and made biscuits for family instead, which was delicious to make and to give. I did try to get into that. I think I tried to do that in 2019, but then I was sick. And then, of course, the year after it was COVID. So it was like, you can't make anything for anyone. One thing that stuck was this little nativity candle that my mum used to light, and it had just a little stained glass window of the nativity scene, and it would light it and it would be on the mantelpiece, and it was just a little reminder of Christmas. And we used to decorate the tree and make decorations. We used to make with crepe paper. You'd fold the green over the red, over the green, over the red, and then it would be this lovely chain. I think for a time we did those shoe boxes, the Samaritan's purse. So we did that, and that was good. And I keep meaning to do that every time I see it in church. I should do that.
I'm the same. I even have the boxes sitting in my house. Have I done it?
No. I think maybe when life isn't as involved with the kids, and the kids can be a bit more involved in it, that might help. Because I was actually thinking along the same lines this year, Sonja, about a Christmas wreath. Last year I bought a wreath frame that I could put stuff on and put it on a door, and I sort of did that, but I'm not very good at craft sort of things. I've sort of I just used a lot of native shrubbery that we have in our yard because it dries and looks okay, or it looks about the same. I thought I'll turn that into a advent candle.
Yeah.
But this weekend, it just didn't happen. And now I'm like, can I do it on the 2nd of December? Because I thought, I'd like to, also bring in a bit more of the spiritual message and learning a little bit more about the Advent wreath. And I'd like to do that.
You mentioned like the spiritual side of things. That's one thing that I kind of haven't gotten into is the whole Santa thing. I didn't grow up with it and I find
Me
it very
neither.
strange. Yeah, that's something that I haven't been able to get into.
I think maybe because I was the youngest, I never really believed in Santa, but I also think our parents never encouraged it. I think we never got anything from quote unquote Santa.
Yeah.
And I think when my kids ask, I just tell them, there was a guy called Saint Nick who used to give presents to poor kids.
Yeah. My kids often get asked, did Father Christmas come to your house? And they're like, who?
There was at church on Sunday and somebody shared with us a YouTube video called Santa Hears the Gospel. It was actually quite good. It was about, as far as stories go. It was about an elf who had to make a toy for a kid who asked for a Christmas story book. And so the elf made the Christmas story book and then read it and then heard about the message of the gospel and told Santa and about how, it's not about naughty and nice and we have all sinned. So we're all on the naughty list, including Santa. And that's why Jesus needed to come.
Do you do Santa, Lexy?
No, we never had Santa growing up. My mum certainly did make an effort into bringing the more spiritual side to our Christmases. So, for example, when Advent began, I wasn't raised in a Lutheran home, but on the 1st of December, we would put up the tree and we would have a little wooden box, the manger, and every time we did something good, like a job, we could put a straw into the manger. And so we would fill up the manger with straw. And then on Christmas Eve, when we were asleep, Mum would put the baby Jesus doll in the manger and some chocolate coins and a few little things around the manger to represent the Magi's gifts. And that has been really beautiful. And I really did enjoy that tradition growing up. So I really do appreciate the work that my mum put into making Christmases not just aesthetically beautiful, but also those spiritual things as well. And since becoming Lutheran, I think our theology around Christmas has become a lot deeper. One of the traditions that my husband and I have started is we've started doing the Jesse tree, which I know a lot of Lutheran families do, where you've got the decorations and each day you put up a decoration and the decorations have a beautiful picture on them and they have Bible readings to go with it. So I'm pretty sure a lot of our listeners know what a Jesse tree is. And my husband and I, we decided to kind of take that a step further where we didn't just have Jesse tree ornaments, but we also had a Jesse tree.
Hi.
So the title, the Jesse tree, it comes from a few different Bible verses where it talks about the shoot of Jesse, the branch of Jesse, which is symbolic for Christ. So Christ was going to come out of this dead stump, which was the dead family of David's line. So once the Israelites had been exiled and the royal line had been basically cut off, there were prophecies about the Messiah that would come from David's family and Jesse being David's father. So we've got Isaiah 11, verse 1, where it says, "There shall come forth a shoot from the stump of Jesse, and a branch from his roots shall bear fruit. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. And his delight shall be in the fear of the Lord. He shall not judge by what his eyes see, or decide disputes by what his ears hear. But with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and decide with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall strike the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall kill the wicked. Righteousness shall be the belt of his waist, and faithfulness the belt of his loins." And the branch of Jesse, Christ, he also comes up in Jeremiah 23, where it says, "Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I shall raise up for David a righteous branch, and he shall reign as king and deal wisely." And it also comes up again in Jeremiah 33 about this branch that would come from this dead stump, that would come from this dead family line. And so what my husband and I did is that we took that quite literally, and we bring a dead stump into the house, and my husband bores a hole into it, and we then get a branch that we stick in the hole, just a single branch. And that's our Christmas tree. So we do that instead of having a traditional Christmas tree, just to add that extra depth of meaning. And we do have to screw the branch in so it doesn't fall off. But yeah, I should post up a few photos so people can see. But it just, it's just a beautiful reminder.
Yeah.
And then we do the Jessie tree ornaments and put one on every day for Advent.
That's so cool. I love that idea because I love actually seeing dead trees. And I love seeing alive trees, but I love seeing dead trees too because they still have a story. They still have a purpose, and you never know when new life is going to come from it. Like it might look dead, but it might not be dead. That's wonderful. And they can look so beautiful. Yeah, definitely show some photos. That would be great.
Yeah. And we do try to get like a fir tree branch just because it lasts longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we've been doing that for about 4 years now.
Nice.
Yeah.
You should try that with the gum tree. Anyway.
Yeah, you could do. I suppose you could do it with the gum tree. I'm not entirely sure what type of tree the biblical passages are referring to with that picture, but yeah, we use the fir tree.
Yeah,
just because it lasts longer. Would it be an oak?
Well, I was wondering if it would be a cedar. You know, the cedars of Lebanon, or maybe I know there's reference to acacias. I'd have to look that up. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. So if any other listeners want to adopt that tradition as well, please let us know, because so far I think we're the only ones that have done it, but it would be awesome if there were other families that did it too. That would be really cool. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Crucem has a beautiful set of Jessie tree ornaments that Tim and Juanita have kindly given Sonja the design so she can recreate it on her laser cutter. The pictures that we use, I just downloaded. I think I bought and downloaded them off of the internet, and I just cut them out and stuck them on jam jar lids and, tied string around it to hang them up. So you can make your own. But yeah, the Jessie tree ornaments, they go through the story of the Bible. So they start with creation and they go all the way through to the birth of Jesus. Yeah.
Is it one for every day?
Yeah, I've got the pile here that I made for the show. And I made a few for us, but I didn't quite get around to starting it this year for us. Next year.
It's only the 2nd of December.
Yeah, no.
Well, that's true, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I suppose I could. I don't think we're going to be here in Whyalla for all of December, but we could probably take it with us. Maybe I should. And the last, how many is it? The last 5 or 6 antiphons. Do you do that as well?
Is that between Christmas and Epiphany?
No, that is from the 17th of December all the way through the 24th, so more than 6. So it's O Wisdom, O Adonai, O Root of Jesse, O Key of David, O Dayspring, O King of the Nations, and O Emmanuel. And then the last 124th is Jesus, Light of the World.
Cool.
Jesus is the light of the world.
Okay. So what was the name of them again?
O Antiphons. I don't know if I'm
Antiphons.
saying it right or not.
I just thought that if you're traveling in that time of the O antiphons,
Yeah, that's true.
you could make a portable mini tree that would fit the last
I actually
7
do
or
have
8.
a mini tree. You know what? You're a genius. We should do that. We might do that. That's a great idea. So, all right, we'll have to leave before or on the 17th or on the 16th. I'll totally.
Put your travel plans around the O antiphons.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, and then it comes with a Bible verse to go. I looked it up. I think it's like a Catholic thing.
It's a medieval tradition I was reading that they would use it to educate people.
Yeah, right.
To help educate them on the overarching story of the Bible.
You mean the whole Jessie tree thing?
Yeah, that's just something I read on one of the sites. Yeah, so it's a very, very old tradition. Yeah. One of the things I have found since becoming Lutheran is that Christmas doesn't end on December the 25th. it keeps going till January the 6th. So that's a whole new thing of, wow, the world has finished with Christmas,
Yeah.
unless you're Orthodox. But yeah, I guess as Lutherans, our Christmas season.
We're participating now, are we?
Yeah. It's beautiful singing note.
Yeah, that's something that I only just realized in the last couple of years that I need to still wrap my head around as well, I think.
Yeah.
It gives me a bit of hope about the medieval times that they did make some efforts to inform the congregation about the whole of the Bible and not just in Latin, whatever it was at the time.
True.
Yes.
Mm.
Well, shall we make a start on our listeners' entries?
Yes, let's do that. So, one of the entries that we've had into our Christmas tradition collection was from Rosalie, who lives in Wilmington, which has been actually one of our parish points. And she sent us a few traditions that they like to do, so I'll just read that out. A collection of Christmas memories. Each year in November, my sister and I make honey biscuits of various shapes, decorated with an almond on top. I remember cooking the biscuits with Nana one year before 1986 in the old wood stove. We give biscuits to our family members. When I was in Sunday school, we had special Sunday school Christmas services where you would memorize your part and we would all sing carols. We received a religious book and a basket made from a cereal box covered with Christmas paper of lollies. The church would be decorated with a living pine tree. My sister and I have ham on toast for Christmas breakfast and then open our presents before heading to church. We have a family lunch together. My nephew and his family were meant to come to my place for Christmas Day lunch in 2022. Unfortunately, they all ended up with COVID. We called it the Wheelbarrow Christmas as we delivered the food and then the presents to their back deck in a wheelbarrow. Thanks to technology, we could see them unwrap their presents. She also sent a couple of photos of their biscuits, the honey biscuits that they make, and they're very beautiful. So maybe we can put that on Facebook or something after the episode is released so that everyone can see them. I really love the Wheelbarrow Christmas. But I don't know if they're doing it as a tradition now, but just, that idea of when you can't do something, how there's still creative ways to get around it, even having Christmas lunch together by bringing it in a wheelbarrow. I think that's really great. And now it's a memory that they have for the rest of their life.
Yes.
Even though, having COVID is not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going to church on Christmas, just what she said about, having the special Sunday school Christmas services and going to church after opening their gifts as children. Going to church on Christmas is only something I have done since becoming Lutheran. So it still seems to feel very different and unusual going to church on Christmas because we never did that growing up. My dad worked very hard. And Christmas Day was kind of like a family day that we got together. But going to church on Sunday, yes, you should go to church on Sunday. But going to church on Christmas is what I meant. It is one of the best ways to spend your Christmas.
Yeah. Lovely. And seeing your church family, like seeing the rest of your family is nice.
I admire the ability to open your presents before heading to church. Heading to church at 9 a.m. it's an achievement for me. So and this is me pre-kids as well. But the times that I did go, I think there were times when I was a teenager where I just went myself because not everyone in the family went and I could just walk to church. So that was kind of nice. And if you don't have it a part of your day as a part of what you do, it's really easy to fall into the, it takes an effort to get in the car and get somewhere else. But if you just see it as, well, this is a special holy day for us, and that's its purpose. That's its first purpose. And you can have your rest day on Boxing Day.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting way to put it, because in America they don't call it Christmas as often as they call it the holiday or the holidays. And really the word holidays comes from holy days, which, yeah, you used to always go to church on holy days. So
Yeah.
really, holidays or holy days is quite an accurate description for it.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just a little epiphany.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Given me more conviction to do just that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we are supposed to, on the holy days and holidays and Sundays, supposed to rest. But I think often we tend to go a little bit overboard, do the opposite of that, and just stress ourselves out. So how do you balance all of that effectively? I don't know.
Yeah.
If
I
you
think
figure
one
it out,
thing-
let me know.
One thing that Taz and I have done is that we've listed our priorities, which is church, Jesse Tree, Bible readings, and hymns, Christmas hymns. And those are our top 4 priorities. And if everything else falls apart, if we don't have presents, if mum makes cheese on toast for Christmas dinner, that's okay because we've done the 4 most important things.
Yeah, that's very true. I've kind of done the same with Christmas dinner, because obviously usually Lee has services and that he needs to either travel for or do. That Christmas dinner for us is just, or lunch even, or we do something in between, has just been a platter of cold meats and cheese and seafood or something, and no cooking involved. You just quickly grab it out of the fridge and throw it on a pretty wooden board and done. And we all love it. So yeah, I've found that why make my life harder when we all enjoy those things?
Or make your kitchen hotter in the summer.
Exactly, yeah.
May as well make the most of the Southern Hemisphere Christmas
Yeah.
weather.
Yeah. I think Christmas is a lot more enjoyable when the mother is not weeping in the kitchen because Christmas dinner hasn't worked out, or she's stressed because she's trying to make everything beautiful and special. I've learned that the hard way.
Yeah, I do get entrusted with the cheese board. That's usually my thing that I do because I love cheese. But I just was thinking, I don't think I've ever been entrusted with cooking Christmas Day. It's funny because growing up in our house, the older sisters were really helpful, and Mum gave them jobs. But by the time it was my turn, I was too busy chatting, and like I took forever. And so Mum's just like, go talk to the guests. Go out there and talk to the family because that's what I'm good at.
So our next entry is from my pastor's wife, Tara, here in Tasmania. So Meryl, would you like to read out Tara's entry?
I would love to. It's a great story. It was 2013, our first year as a graduate pastor and family in the parish. Before we knew it, Christmas was approaching. And on one of his visits, Sam was asked by the resident nonagenarian about his family's Christian traditions. Sam replied that he loved Auntie Gladys's honey biscuits, and being from the Eyre Peninsula, his family would always have seafood. Sometimes they would have oysters or crayfish, but they would always have prawns. They were his favourite. Christmas Eve approached, and in the hustle and bustle after church, this dear old lady passed Sam an ice cream container and said, "Merry Christmas." Once home, he put it on the kitchen bench and promptly forgot about it, as it's also a tradition in his family to open presents on Christmas Eve. On Christmas morning, I was tidying up and asked Sam what was in the container, and he replied that he thought it was honey biscuits. Hoping to try one of them, as this lady was well known as an excellent cook, I opened up the ice cream container, not to find biscuits, but prawns. Oh dear. We were so utterly touched that this dear old lady had gone out of her way to try and make Sam's first Christmas in the parish a bit more like home, but we felt terrible as they had been out all night and we could not eat them. We vowed never to tell her, and she passed the following year, a beautiful example of one of God's humble servants. If only we could all be a bit more considerate of others like that lovely lady. God bless you, Auntie Gladys.
Yeah. That's such a sad yet funny story. Prawns smell bad after an hour or two not in the fridge. Would have smelled quite bad.
Okay, so she gave them this container of prawns and she intended to give them prawns, but he just assumed that they were these honey biscuits.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, I think usually that's a more common gift
Yeah.
in an ice cream container. Like we've been given ice cream containers of honey biscuits. I think that's quite safe to assume that it's usually honey biscuits, but she was obviously trying to go out of her way to
Yeah.
make him feel at home and special.
Yeah.
and maybe should have put a big label on there or something.
Maybe she was resting on the fact that I think we all want to peek in the honey biscuit box and
Yeah,
go,
that he
have
would
one
have
now.
one immediately.
The temptation is just too great.
Yeah, and that he would be pleasantly surprised to find prawns instead.
And put them
Yeah.
straight in the fridge.
Yes.
Oh, lovely lady.
But it obviously still blessed them because Tara
Yeah.
speaks of it very fondly.
Well,
Yes.
I do wonder if, like, one day in heaven they'll be able to laugh together about it.
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. That's cute.
We never really had prawns for Christmas.
No, me neither. Yeah, but seafood was like a super duper expensive thing.
Did you live away from the sea as well?
Oh, you know, it's suburban Adelaide.
Yep.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I reckon my mum would have grown up with seafood though, like living in Darwin. It was not really a tradition, really.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I don't like prawns. Didn't grow up with them
Yeah.
at Christmas.
That's a beautiful story. And there are a lot of really lovely ladies like that in the Lutheran Church, I have found, just really considerate and caring. And yeah, I would like to be like that.
And also just taking note of those things, those little things, and remembering them.
Yeah.
It shows you really listened.
So our last entry is a Christmas poem written by Joseph Theodorson from Western Australia. And I have been practicing it. I actually looked up on YouTube how to correctly and properly read poetry because I wanted to do a really good job of it. And I'm really surprised at how something that I thought was very prestigious, like reading poetry, it's just to do it well, you just read it naturally and you ignore the lines and you just follow the sentences and follow the author's thoughts and ideas. So I do hope that I do this poem justice. I read it to Tasman when I was practicing and he said, wow, that is absolutely brilliant. Like he loved it. And Joseph sent in two, but I've picked one, which was actually the longest one because it was my favorite one. And it tells the story of the fall and redemption. And Meryl, when you read the poem, you said it should be turned into a song.
Yeah, I was listening at the time, probably multitasking too much, but I was listening to an album that a friend of mine recommended to me that she'd written music to The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And so it was kind of ethereal and with a little bit of mood, but also, you know, lighter bits in it. And as I was reading this poem, listening to this music at the same time, I was just like, this is a hymn. This is a song. I would love to sing this, like, or a carol. It's just beautiful. The words are so powerful and it's got a nice rhythm to it. So, you know, one day I have to turn it into a song.
Joseph, turn it into a song, please. Yeah, I guess just through the research that I did I'm not an expert by any means, but I really enjoyed just learning how to read poetry and just learning a little bit about how to read it well. And it made me realize that if I ever have the time, I would like to do audiobooks and I would like to specifically Lutheran stuff. I would love to be able to record Lutheran works. And yeah, I think preparing for this episode opened up that passion and that desire to do that. So if you're a Lutheran author and you've written good stuff and you want an Australian accent to read, let me know.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. I love reading poetry. My dad used to read out poetry all the time. And it just got a flow to it that's just I love it. Yeah, it's almost music without the music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In the garden, long ago, our story does begin, before the curse of sin and death had even entered in. A man and woman, Adam, Eve, were brought up from the dust to walk upon the hallowed earth with God, so full of trust. He made them in his grand design, his finest work of art, and to the best of all he made, his image did impart. Yet in the shadows lurked a snake, that wily evil foe who hated God and all he made. His eyes with green they glowed. His envy of the Lord Most High had got him cast aside. To work with God in joy and peace would not for him suffice. So angry at his full demise, he hatched an evil plan to ruin all that God had made, especially the man. He heard the words the Lord had spoke. This all for you is food, but do not eat there from that tree. It will do you no good. He waited, then, for his chance to trick the people new. Your God was being selfish. The fruit is good, it's true. He twisted words and made it sound as if he knew for sure that eating of that holy tree would make them wise. And more, they themselves would be like God and know the wrong from right. But what they were about to do would turn the day to night. The eating of that fruit, you see, would make the hearts of all be turned upon themselves, making others really small. Selfishness, our own gain, would be our biggest trait. Our God would be forgotten, and new idols we'd create. Cursed are you, you evil foe, above all things I've made, for tricking my own children to do what I forbade. A child will come, the seed of Eve, into this world of mine, and he will bruise your head, though you'll hurt him for a time. For promise made, the gospel given at the birth of sin, where death had come into the world, corrupting all within. It would not have the final say. It never could. You see, for God Almighty made this world. He could not let it be. Instead, the promise of the Christ was made so long ago that God himself would come as man to let his love be known. A servant, he would come to us and for our sin be slain, taking here upon himself all suffering and pain. The perfect, spotless Lamb offered up for all the world would feel the curse of darkness and its ill effects unfurled. A prophet, priest, and king he'd be, the greatest man of all. Yet in his greatness, God Most High would come to us so small. A little town, so far away from everything we pride, would host the coming of this king, his glory put aside. A baby, wrapped in swaddling clothes, was in a manger laid, the one foretold from long ago, humility displayed. He did not come in pomp and splendor, ravaging our foes, but taking on himself instead our humanness and woes. By joining God and man in one as only he could do, this Jesus, born in Bethlehem, did all he needed to. He lived a life toward our God as perfect as could be, loving him with all his heart and loving you and me. He did not live in grandeur with the best of everything, but humbly walked among us, sinners always welcoming. His life would take him up and down the land where he was born, so he could spread the gospel, heal the sick, and help the poor. The rulers of the time did not like the things he said and talked among themselves, saying he'd be better dead. They did not know he was their king, the promised one of old. Their hearts were hard and full of greed. To power they would hold. And so they planned and plotted for the righteous to be slain. They really should have read the word that he would rise again. His death was not their scheming plans coming to an end, but fulfillment of the word, the broken ones to mend. In dying, Jesus took the sins of all upon the earth and gave the chance for broken hearts to once again feel mirth. The evil of the world and sin and Satan were undone as the wrath of God was poured upon his holy Son. Yet 3 days on, a shout was heard. His followers would see that death was not the victor. Jesus had the victory. And so the promise was fulfilled, and yet there's more to come as we still celebrate the coming of the promised one. He will return, and when he does, the world will take the knee to bow before the King of Grace, the one full of mercy. The heavens will be made anew, and so the earth below will once again display the goodness that it once did know. As we celebrate this night, let's all remember well that Jesus is the one of whom the prophets all did tell, the King of Christmas, Jesus Christ, the one who vanquished hell, the Savior of the human race, our God, Emmanuel.
Beautiful.
That is a beautiful poem. Thank you so much, Joseph, for that entry, and please make it into a hymn.
Amen.
I think this poem really does remind us that Christmas isn't just about Christ coming to the earth as a baby. It's not just about celebrating Christ's birth, but the reason why he had to be born, which was for our redemption. Like, he was born to die. His whole purpose for coming was to die and to be the sacrifice for us. And even in our Christmas celebrations, there is that it's sweet and it's beautiful to celebrate the incarnation, but there's also that looking ahead to the suffering and the sadness and the pain and why he came.
Yeah, as I was reading it while you were reading it, I've been looking a lot into stories that have a main character that goes in and fights, particularly at the moment, like the Lord of the Rings. It's sort of coming to mind. There's all these battles and all this fighting, and I can imagine how the Israelites wanted that king to come in and do battle to free them from the enemy. But how much more bigger and powerful, I've sort of never really thought about it in this way till now, but he came in, died, and went to hell to vanquish it. Like, that's where he did his mighty battle. And that's far greater battle than battling any nation on any earth, all of them put together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one who vanquished hell. That was his king coming in and slaying, you know?
Yeah. A couple of years ago, my husband said to me, I don't know what I was doing, but I was in one of the rooms and he came in and he just seemed flabbergasted. And he said to me, I've just been thinking about how Christ redeemed us. And it's just blown my mind that he actually did it, because God is so perfect and we are fallen, sinful mankind. How can you reconcile something so opposite? You've got such a holy, perfect God, and then you've got something that's the complete opposite, sinners. And you can take these two opposites and you can reconcile them perfectly. And he was just saying to me, that's what Christ did. He did it. He did the impossible.
Mm.
And it was just the gospel coming alive in his mind that Christ did the impossible. He vanquished hell. He reconciled sinners to a holy God. And yeah, it's just amazing. Have you seen the Nativity Story movie?
I think I might
Is
have
it
that
a
on
new
DVD.
one? Like one that came out recently, or?
Let me have a look. When did it come out? It's relatively old. It's got the actress. I think she's from New Zealand. The Nativity Story. I think it's just called. It's 2005. The Nativity Story. And yes, the actress who plays Mary, Pasha Castle Hughes. I think that's how you say her name. And yes, she was the actress in Whale Rider.
Oh, Keisha.
Keisha.
Yeah.
So, okay, Keisha Castle Hughes. And I think it's probably one of the best Christmas movies that I have seen. It's a beautiful movie. It's not 100% accurate, historically accurate, but there are some really beautiful parts in the movie that are really, really meaningful. And one of those is when the three magi come and present their gifts to Christ. And the first one presents gold, and he says something like, gold for the King of Kings. And then one presents the frankincense. And then the last one, who presents the myrrh, you can see he's really quite cut up about it, because you're basically presenting embalming herbs to a brand new baby. And he falls on his knees in front of baby Jesus, and he says to Mary and Joseph, myrrh. And you can kind of tell he's choking up a bit, goes myrrh for the sacrifice. And whether or not the Magi knew that Christ was going to die, I don't know. But just that scene, I found it very impactful that he had come to die, and that this little beautiful baby, and we've been holding our babies here tonight as we record this, like this little beautiful baby would one day be nailed to a cross and his flesh torn to pieces through beatings for our sake to save us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how the poem also draws our attention to the fact that the Christmas story started in the Garden of Eden, like just like with the Jesse tree ornaments. The Christmas story starts right at the start of the Bible, and
Yes.
Jesus, like the baby, is mentioned immediately after the fall.
Mm.
And that's something that, I have only sort of been realizing since becoming Lutheran, I suppose. Or maybe since I've started reading my Bible more.
Yeah.
But the Christmas story didn't start after, Mary was born.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yes.
start of time.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess with the, it's written in Genesis as your seed or her seed.
Yeah.
But he's mentioned as a seed, not as you don't really think about the implications of, there's going to be a baby growing inside a woman one day. He's going to come out as a baby, a helpless baby,
Yes.
going to crush the serpent.
Yes, absolutely. And that promise, it comes right at the very, very beginning. Like the gospel is delivered right at the very beginning. And he delivers it to Satan. And he tells Satan that he shall crush your head and you shall bruise his heel.
Mm.
And the gospel is delivered right back then when everything just went so horribly wrong so quickly.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's true. Immediately the gospel is given to them. Yeah.
And that God had that plan ready to go before the foundations of the earth. It's like, Lamb, he was saying, don't want it to happen. Shouldn't happen. Gonna happen. I'm ready. This is worth it, and I'm ready. Yeah, I'm willing to die for what I've made.
He had it covered.
Yeah, obviously human experience doesn't compare to God's experience and what he has to put up with us, but I think it's similar to us. Well, we get a little glimpse into it, as parents, knowing how hard having children is and how you get no more sleep for a while, and every day you have to just work for these children and all these things, and often, you get very little in return, and yet we are so excited to do it anyway.
Yeah.
We're so excited to be parents, and you just go through all this hardship, and it's like, I want more of these. And maybe that's a little bit of God's heart as well, that he knows all the pain that he has to endure because of us humans, but he's like, I want them.
Yeah.
And the joy he must feel when we've learned something.
Yeah.
And apply it.
When we actually read the Bible and go, oh, wow, God.
Yeah.
And he's like, yes.
Yeah. Like when you see your kid do something nice for another kid without prompting, you're like, oh my goodness. It worked. Oh my goodness. Maybe not my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much to all of our listeners who sent in entries. And we hope and pray that you have a very blessed Christmas this year. And to our listeners in Australia, our Australian Lutherans, we know it's been a very hard year, and we know that for many, next year is going to also be very hard. And just be reminded that you are in our prayers, and that our Lord Jesus Christ, at the fall of man, he was proclaimed thousands of years before he came and died for our redemption, and that God has all under control, that we are safe in his hands. So may you have a very blessed Christmas, and from us at Here She Stands, may God bless you.
Here She Stands is an Australian podcast for Lutheran women, and we release new episodes every 2 weeks on a Tuesday. You can find us on all major podcasting platforms as well as YouTube. You can also follow on Facebook and Instagram. If you would like to contact us directly, our email address is hereshestands.podcast@gmail.com.
Until next time, we pray that you will hold fast to God's word and confidently say, "Here I stand, I can do no other."